Let me tell you about Ava Rios, 38 years old. Executive Vice President of Revenue at Helix Meridian, a glossy fintech company that marketed trust and efficiency while quietly worshipping one thing: margins. Ava wasn't loud. She wasn't political. She didn't do LinkedIn speeches. She did numbers. And 3 weeks before this story starts, she closed Helix Meridian's biggest partnership in company history, Hastings Retail Group. Projected value, $410 million over 4 years. For that deal and for hitting the annual revenue target early, Ava had a scheduled incentive bonus set to vest the next morning. Amount, $6.8 million. Not discretionary. Not a will fee. Not subject to leadership approval. Scheduled. Sign. Board approved. Vesting. Friday at 10 a.m. And Helix Meridian's leadership, in a moment of corporate arrogance so pure it should be bottled, decided they were going to fire her 23 hours before vesting and save themselves almost $7 million with a calendar trick. What they actually did was trigger the clause Ava the clause aided into her contract years earlier. A clause labeled like it was nothing. Clause 11C, and Clause 11C didn't protect her bonus. It doubled it, $13.6 million. Payable fast. With fees if they tried anything stupid. And the kind of internal fallout that makes executives suddenly remember their kids' birthdays and start taking time with family. This is the story of how Ava let them fire her. And then made them pay her like they just lost a lawsuit they were too embarrassed to admit existed. Buckle up. Because this twist wasn't luck, it was paperwork. It started on Thursday morning. Ava walked into the Helix Meridian lobby and immediately felt the shift. The receptionist Maribel, usually all smiles, didn't look up, didn't greet her, didn't meet her eyes. Maribel stared at the marble floor like it was giving her instructions. Ava's phone buzzed. Outlook invite. Subject line: Urgent performance review to 9:30 a.m. Conf RM4C. All caps. No body text. No context. No signature. Cute. When you've been an executive long enough, you learn the early warning signs. Not because you're paranoid. Because you've seen the pattern. A last-minute meeting. Blinds drawn. HR present. No agenda. No metrics. A decision already made. Ava didn't panic. She didn't rush. She walked the long way to her office and watched the hallway like a mirror. 2 people who normally chased her for approvals suddenly found reasons to turn away. A director she'd mentored for years remembered a call and disappeared. And Ava thought very calmly, okay, so it's today. She stepped into her office, shut the door, and opened the bottom drawer of her credenza. Inside was a thin black folder, her employment agreement. She flipped straight to the section she'd renegotiated after year 3 back when Helix Meridian begged her not to leave for a competitor and promised in writing to do whatever it takes. Ava found the heading and ran her finger down the paragraph. Clause 11C, Incentive Protection and Bad Faith Termination. She read it once, then again slower, because she wanted to be absolutely sure the words still meant what she remembered. They did. Clause 11C said, if Helix Meridian terminated Ava without cause within 24 hours prior to a scheduled vesting event, the incentive would accelerate immediately, and the company would owe 200% of the scheduled payout, payable within 5 business days, with fees and costs reimbursed if collection required legal action, and the company waived mandatory arbitration. And tucked inside like a dagger with a ribbon on it, any termination triggering 11C required written notice to the audit committee within 24 hours. Ava closed the folder, adjusted her blazer, looked at her reflection in the glass, and smiled once. Not because she was happy, because she understood exactly what they were about to do. And she was going to let them do it cleanly. Now, if you love stories where corporate greed faceplants into legal reality, subscribe to Tangled Stories. I'm Brett, and around here, every yarn has a twist. Sometimes it's a knife, sometimes it's a clause. At 9:29, Ava walked into conference room 4C. Blinds drawn, no water pitcher, no laptop, no performance deck. Just 3 people sitting too still, waiting like they'd rehearsed this in front of a mirror. Gwen Harlow, head of HR, tie smile, pressed suit, eyes that looked like she'd already practiced the sympathy. Miles Chun, HR business partner, new, nervous, hands folded like he was praying. And Elise Ward, executive ape, the CEO's shadow. The person who booked the room so the CEO didn't have to do his own mess. Ava, Gwen said, voice warm in the way HR voices get when they're about to ruin someone's week. Thank you for joining on short notice. Of course, Ava said. I always make time. Elise gestured at a chair. Ava, stay standing. Elise blinked. Just once. Gwen slid a single sheet of paper closer to herself, like it might run away. I'll get right to it, Gwen said. Helix Meridian is restructuring. Your role is being eliminated, effective immediately. Ava tilted her head. Eliminated? Yes, Gwen said quickly. Approved by senior leadership. Senior leadership. Meaning CEO Brent Kessler, who apparently couldn't handle eye contact today. Ava nodded once. Is this for cause? Ava asked. Gwen's eyes flicked quick, involuntary toward Elise. No, Gwen said. Not for cause. Organizational. Understood, Ava replied. And that was when Miles looked startled. Because most people react. Most people cry. Most people bargain. Ava didn't. Gwen pushed the severance packet across the table. Standard package, she said. 16 weeks. Cobra contribution. Non-disparagement. Please sign today. Ava read the first page. Set it down. I won't be signing anything today, she said. Elise's voice sharpened. We need to close this out, Ava. Ava looked at her. Calm. Steady. You already did, she said. Effective immediately, right? Silence. Gwen cleared her throat. We'll need your badge, she said. Ava reached into her bag and placed it on the table. No drama, no hesitation. Then she stood there for a beat, as if she were being polite about letting them finish the scene they'd written. May I collect my personal items? Ava asked. Yes, Gwen said too fast. Miles will escort you. Miles stood like his legs didn't want to cooperate. Ava walked out of the room like she'd just finished a normal meeting and was headed to refill her coffee. And Helix Meridian, in their smug little heads, thought they'd won. Miles followed Ava to her office. He hovered by the door as Ava picked up exactly 4 things, 2 notebooks. A framed photo of her little sister's graduation, her car keys, and a black folder. Miles swallowed. Ava. I'm sorry. Ava turned, and her face softened not for Helix Meridian, but for him. I know you are, she said. That's why this isn't about you. She walked to the elevator. Instead of pressing lobby, she pressed 14, legal. Miles frowned. You can't, Ava looked at him, not unkindly. Watch me, she said. The doors closed. Here's the part Helix Meridian didn't understand. Taking a badge doesn't instantly erase access. Executives had device certificates, mobile tokens, system privileges that shut off when HR processed the separation. And HR hadn't processed anything. They'd rushed, skipped legal, skipped IT, skipped every adult who would have told them, don't do this inside the window. Legal smelled like toner and burnout. Ava walked to the front desk. Hi, she said. Please tell Daniel Ibarra I'm here. The receptionist hesitated. Do you have an appointment? Ava smiled, small and controlled. I was terminated without cause 23 hours before a vesting event, she said. The receptionist's expression changed instantly. Because you don't need a law degree to understand what that sentence implies. Within minutes, Daniel Ibarra, associate counsel, sharp eyes, tired face, opened his office door. He looked at Ava like he'd just seen a storm cloud walk in wearing heels. They fired you, he asked. Ava stepped in, shut the door. Effective immediately. No cause, she said. Daniel's jaw tightened. Did they loop legal? Ava didn't answer. She set the black folder on his desk and opened it to Clause 11C. Daniel read. Then reread. Then leaned back and exhaled. Oh, he said quietly. They're going to regret this. I'd like the audit committee notified, Ava said. Per the clause. Daniel's eyebrows lifted. Today? The clause requires it, Ava replied. I'm just following the agreement they signed. Daniel's fingers hovered over his keyboard. Do you have documentation? He asked carefully. Ava slid a USB drive across the desk. Termination invite, severance letter, incentive schedule, board approval email, she said. And an internal email referencing terminating before vesting to reduce payout exposure. Daniel froze. Who wrote that? He asked. Ava's voice stayed calm. Elise, she said. Daniel's eyes sharpened. He didn't ask questions after that. At 10:12 a.m., Daniel sent the notice. To the General Counsel. To the CFO, and to the Audit Committee Chair. Subject line. Notice. Clause 11C trigger. Involuntary termination without cause with investing window. Ava watched him hit send. No shouting, no threats, no dramatics. Just a quiet click that started a corporate fire. One more thing, Ava said. Daniel looked up. Confirm receipt in writing, Ava said. I want a timestamp. Daniel nodded once. You'll get it. Ava stood, walked out, rode the elevator down, and stepped into sunlight like she'd been released from a building that was about to collapse behind her. She went to a cafe, ordered an iced coffee, sat by the window, and waited. Back inside Helix Meridian, Gwen was still wearing her relief-like perfume. By late morning, her phone rang. CFO Arjun Patel. Gwen answered with forced brightness. Arjun, hi. What did you do? Arjun snapped. Gwen blinked. We eliminated Ava's role. Per Brent's direction. A pause. Then, very slowly, did you fire her without cause inside the vesting window? Gwen frowned. We did it before vesting, so, no, Arjun cut in. You did it inside the trigger window. Legal just sent me a Clause 11C notice. Gwen's stomach dropped. That clause is, what? She asked. It's double, Arjun said. Not $6.8 million. $13.6 million. Payable in 5 business days. Fees if contested. Gwen's mouth opened once, then closed. And, Arjun added, voice turning colder, we have an email from Elise talking about firing her before vesting to reduce payout exposure. Gwen turned slowly toward Elise's office. Elise was sitting very still, staring at her screen like it had started judging her. Arjun exhaled. The audit committee is going to see that email, Gwen whispered. Arjun. He cut her off. Get in the conference room. Now. The emergency meeting was fast and ugly. CEO Brent Kessler. CFO Arjun. General Counsel Marissa Vull, Gwen. And Elise, sitting like a witness who knows the footage exists. Marissa placed Ava's contract on the table. This is Clause 11C, she said. It's enforceable, it's clear, it's signed. It's initialed. Brent leaned forward, face flushing. Why have I never heard of this? Marissa didn't blink. Because you didn't read what you signed. Brent snapped toward Gwen. Why didn't HR flag this? Gwen's voice shook. It was in her amendment, Marissa cut in. And you terminated her at 9:30 Thursday. Vesting event was scheduled 10 o'clock Friday. That's within the 24-hour window. Brent slammed his hand on the table. We did it before vesting, that's the point. Marissa's voice was flat. That's why the clause exists. Arjun looked down at his notes. Minimum payout is $13.6 million. If we contest, we pay her fees. The clause also forces audit committee notice, which means the board is already involved. Brent's voice went thin. What does she want? Marissa looked up. What you agreed to pay her. And that's when Brent finally understood the real problem. Ava wasn't negotiating. Ava wasn't bluffing. Ava wasn't emotional. Ava was simply collecting what the paperwork said she was owed. At 12:18 p.m., Ava received Daniel's written confirmation. Receipt acknowledged. Notice delivered to required parties. Ava took a slow sip of her coffee. At 3:41 p.m., her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered on the second ring. Ava Rios, she said. Ava, a man's voice said controlled, frayed at the edges. This is Lawrence Pritchard, Audit Committee Chair. Ava's tone warmed slightly. Hi, Lawrence. A pause. I've reviewed Clause 11C, Lawrence said. And the supporting documents. Yes, Ava replied. Another pause, longer. Did you intend to trigger this clause? He asked. Ava didn't hesitate. I intended not to be robbed, she said. They chose the method. Lawrence exhaled. We're recommending immediate payment. Ava's voice stayed even. That's sensible. And, Lawrence added carefully, there will be leadership consequences. Ava looked out the cafe window. That's between you and them, she said. My relationship is with the contract. Lawrence's voice softened. I'm sorry, Ava. Ava nodded once, even though he couldn't see it. I'll accept my apology in wire form, she said. A sound half laugh, half surrender. We'll send documentation, Lawrence said. External counsel may include an NDA. Ava's tone sharpened just a degree. The clause doesn't require an NDA, she said. If they want silence, they can make a separate offer. Lawrence paused. Understood. Click. A week later, Ava received an email from external counsel. Subject, payment confirmation. Clause 11C incentive acceleration, no long apology. No, we value your contributions, just the number $13,600,000.00 paid in full. Ava didn't sign an NDA, because she didn't have to. Helix Meridian quietly restructured 2 other executives in the weeks that followed. Gwen Harlow was suddenly pursuing new opportunities. Elise Ward vanished from the org chart. And CEO Brent Kessler stopped doing interviews. Funny how confident people get when they think they're holding power. And how quiet they get when they realize the power was in the signature line. 2 months later, Ava took a role at a competitor. Higher base, better equity, board-level protection. And her new contract contained a clause that made her laugh out loud when she read it. Employees shall not be terminated within 60 days of any scheduled vesting event without board approval. Because after Ava, companies remembered how to read. And that, my friends, is how one woman got fired 23 hours before a $6.8 million bonus. And got paid $13.6 million instead. Not because she screamed. Not because she sued. Not because she got lucky. Because she did what smart people do when the room gets quiet. She checked the paperwork. If this story hit your justice receptors, do me a solid subscribe to Tangled Stories, drop a like, and share this with anyone who thinks firing someone right before vesting is a clever move. Because here, every story has a twist. And sometimes that twist is named Clause 11C. I'm Brett, and I'll see you in the next one.